With me on the phone is former Congressman Joe DioGuardi. And let me, if I can, just rattle off some things because this will give you the fuel for your perspectives here. Debt is up $1.59 trillion. $1.59 trillion. That's more in the last 15 months than the first 97 Congresses of the United States combined. The Federal Reserve now holds more debt than at any other time. That's a 452% increase since Barack Obama took office. 49.1% of the population that lives in a household where at least one member is receiving some type of government benefit. Poverty is an all-time high. 97.3 million Americans now qualify as low income under the poverty level. Food stamps. We have more people on food stamps than ever before. It's increased, to 46.4 million people, a 45% increase. Median house income is down by, I can't know the percentage here, but it's down dramatically. And, of course, other prices of things are up. And the other thing that scares me, Congressman, is we've seen this uptick in consumer spending, and I've been asking, and finally I got the answer. The uptick in consumer spending on credit cards. This is a picture of bankruptcy, is what it is.
Well, as I've said many times on your show before, we have created an artificial economy. We have done everything to prop up the economy. But looking at the numbers that you just gave, there would be, in the normal world, not the bizarro world, no chance for Obama to be reelected. Mm-hmm. And yet, this will still turn out to be, by all measures right now, a close election. And that's because people are confused, people are distracted, people are uncertain, people are cynical, and they don't spend enough time to look at the real numbers as you have on the economic front and as I have on the accounting front. I hope people go to my website, truthingovernment.org, to see the update on my article just a few days ago, the title being The Global Debt Bomb and the Fiscal Unsustainability of the U.S. and Europe, where I go through paragraph by paragraph the charade that we're playing, not just in the United States, but around the world. Does anyone think that Spain is going to now be back on a good footing because they've allocated 100 billion euros, 125, I guess, billion dollars? Come on, the issue is their economy. This is just another Band-Aid.
Right.
That is just a Band-Aid. If you can't produce, if you can't create jobs, if you can't see economic growth, this is all a charade to get people reelected so that they can continue doing the same thing. And this is our problem, where the public is not looking at the real numbers. Number one, they're not getting the real numbers from the politicians and from the squawk boxes. You're giving them the real numbers, Curtis. But go to some of these other shows that they're showing. Mainly, politics, Trump's. Their guy is this, and that's what they want to support. So I
want you to help me with something because you know numbers. So let's explain. I see the headline, under Obama, Fed's holding of U.S. debt has jumped 452%. Now, let me explain it in simple terms for people, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong, and please add to this because you understand this better than I do. Basically, what's happened here, look at that number, 452%. That's the percentage that reflects that we are printing money and buying our own debt just to continue this charade that somehow the economy isn't as bad as we think it is, right?
Right. And you know how they got away with it? Because they called it something that kind of puts you to sleep, quantitative easing.
Yeah.
The public is saying, well, we've had quantitative easing. They're telling the public quantitative easing 1 and quantitative easing 2, and we're reluctant to go to quantitative easing 3. Look what the Fed did last week. Everybody was waiting for a signal. Did you get a signal? No. Why? Because they know they've run out of bullets, and they're afraid to do any more debt increases, buying back bonds. Why? Because the fuse on that debt bomb that I described is interest. Mm-hmm. And interest right now is down to practically zero. And and inflation is still showing the signs of coming back. So when inflation comes back, guess what comes right back with it? Interest, the cost of money, which we have suppressed artificially. I said we've got price controls on interest. The Fed has suppressed it artificially, and they're afraid that they got to start changing things to go back because they see the sign of inflation coming. They don't know when, but that tells them I shouldn't do any more quantitative easing now, even though everybody's yelling for it. The markets are saying you got to stop the stock market from going down. Hey, the issue's not the stock market. The issue's the economy. Mm-hmm. It's jobs. Let's not go to the symptoms. Let's go to the issues. That's what's not being discussed today.
You know, there's one thing here, and help me, because you just said something. This quantitative easing is like putting up a smokescreen so people just ignore the real issues and deal with the real issues. I say that we don't understand in America just how damaging and detrimental these assistance programs have been. People say, well, we need these security blankets. We need to help people out. We need to do this. But understand something. If we had not given out so much unemployment insurance, if we did not give out government assistance and food stamps, if we didn't help people out of their mortgages and just let them go flat up, if we did all those things, people would right now, it wouldn't be a dead heat between Romney and Obama. People will be going, that's it, we've had enough. This guy's a complete and utter failure. So what we've done is we've dressed up this pig.
Absolutely.
Right? And so people are going, well, it can't be too bad. Look, I mean, it's not too bad, right?
But you've got two big pigs here. You just talked about the Fed. That's monetary policy. Talk about the other pig, fiscal policy.
Yeah.
We've raised the public debt up to $15 trillion when you consider Treasury bills that have been, issued in order to spend money to balance the budget, but we never balanced it. Last year, you mentioned $1.5.9 trillion or $1.6 trillion
right.
almost.
Yeah.
That's 15 months. In the prior year, this fiscal year ending September 30th, 2012, we'll have another deficit of $1.3 trillion. That's the fourth year in a row. Where did we get that money? We borrowed it. But what we're not putting on the books is the obligations that we have in the future for Social Security, Medicare. You're talking about well over $60 trillion in obligations that companies would have to put on their books on a present value basis with actuaries in order to stay in the stock market. And yet we're issuing Treasury bills every day. We're the biggest issuer of securities in the world, and yet the SEC rules do not apply to the Treasury and the federal government. This is a double standard.
Yeah. Now take that a little bit further too. When I talked about 660,000 new federal workers, and the president now pushing again to go hire more government workers, all that does is take that 150 or whatever it is trillion in long-term liabilities and push it up, right?
Absolutely, and don't forget the pensions to go along with it.
Yeah,
that was the issue in Wisconsin. Why do you think people are not dumb? You can only fool some of the people some of the time. That Wisconsin election was about this issue.